We are delighted to be joined by Tamworth captain Ben Milnes. Welcome to the podcast, Ben. How are you doing?
Thank you. All good, thanks. All good. Yourself?
Yeah, very well, thanks. It's good to have you on. How would you assess how the season started for Tamworth then, this campaign?
I think it's been a pretty good start, actually. Obviously, to be sitting just lower mid-table, it's pretty tight in the mid-table area, but yeah, I'd say it's a pretty decent start. All things considered, new league, etc. Had some decent results. Obviously, had some not so decent results, but yeah, overall, I'd say a pretty decent start.
I find it really incredible. Pre-season, there wasn't tons of experience in the squad at this level of the pyramid. Yet you wouldn't really know it, would you, to look at the performances and results?
Yeah, no, even if you looked at, on Saturday we played Ebbsfleet, even if you looked at their team and the amount of Football League experience they had, and obviously they're sitting bottom of the league, if you compare that to the lads in our team who it's probably only a handful who have played in the Football League, obviously it's quite a considerable difference. And even not many of our lads, I don't think, have much national league experience either, to be fair. So obviously we're punching above our weight in that respect. But yeah, we've got good players in our squad. So and we've shown we can mix it with all the teams so far. Really, obviously there's a few teams up the top which they probably could be playing the Football League, to be fair, with some of the quality of their squad. So it's obviously going to be difficult against those teams. But yeah, I think we've done pretty well, all things considered.
So in terms of the start of the season for yourself, Ben, obviously you've had a couple of injuries, haven't you? So how have you found that? Because I imagine that must have been quite a stop-start for you.
Yeah, I'm used to it now, unfortunately. Yeah, the age I am now, I just seem to pick up a few more injuries than I used to be honest. So yeah, I missed the majority of pre-season, which obviously then set me back fitness-wise going into the season. And then just had a little niggle on my hamstring against Halifax, which kept me out for a couple of weeks again. So, but yeah, back fit and firing. Yeah, unfortunately, just part and parcel of it, injuries at the minute. So it's part and parcel of football, I guess. For anyone, obviously some players pick them up more than others. I'm coming into the later stage of my career, so I've just got to accept that unfortunately I'm going to pick up a few more than George, for example, who's like almost 15 years younger than me. I think we worked out the other day. He's young enough to be my son.
Just in terms of titles as well, obviously you're quite a prolific title winner yourself, aren't you? Obviously you've won, 3 in a row now?
3 in a row, yeah. Have you got my stats up? I've done a bit of research before.
That was actually a bit of research you did for BBC WM.
Was it? Yeah, me. 3 in a row. Me and Curls have got 3 in a row. So I was actually speaking to Jazz about it after the FA Cup game, and if you'd say it couldn't really have gone better the last 3 years for me personally, and obviously the last 2 years as a club, to get promoted twice in a row, and then obviously be doing okay in the National League and get a big FA Cup scalp live on national television. I don't think, as a non-league player, as a semi-pro footballer, I don't think really you could ask for much more from 2.5 years playing football, really. So yeah, it's unbelievable, really.
What do you remember, Ben, about when you left Buxton for Tamworth? Because you that would have been quite a big move, I imagine, at the time, big decision to make.
Yeah, so I actually got injured around November time, a knee injury, and I had to have an operation. So I was out for the back end of the season for Buxton. So I didn't get offered a new contract there. And ideally I wanted somewhere a bit closer to home as well. So I was just looking at my options really, and then a mutual contact of mine and the gaffers put us in touch. And we just had a few initial conversations. And yeah, I remember actually I was on holiday in Croatia, and was speaking to the gaffer and liked what he had to say. I knew a few of the lads at Tamworth. So yeah, I thought, yeah, let's go for it. And obviously, yeah, you look back on your career and some decisions you think, oh wow, like imagine if I hadn't have signed for Tamworth, what like who I would have signed for and where I would be now, versus obviously having signed for Tamworth and having a couple of great years. So yeah, obviously very pleased I made that decision. And yeah, it's worked out pretty well.
Was there like a sales pitch, so to speak, needed? Because I mean, Tamworth, I think the end of that season before you signed that would have been a very strong end to the season anyway, and like Andy Peakes' reputation was brilliant as well.
Yeah. So I'd played against the gaffer a few times when I played for Kettering and he was at Rushden, so sort of knew, or half knew him, or didn't really know him personally. And then I've played against Tamworth a couple of times throughout my career, so I nearly signed for you guys a few years before that, I think, when Dale Belford was in charge, maybe. But anyway, nothing ever came of it. So I knew Tamworth as well. I knew it was pretty decent size club, especially for the level that we're at Step 3 then. So yeah, it all sort of seemed to fit and match what I wanted to do at that moment in time, challenge at the top end of that league. So yeah, it was just good fit all round, really.
Do you think that's a side of non-league football, particularly, you know, when it's largely part-time teams, that gets kind of spoken about enough, when it's you know, I imagine a lot of your life is sort of balancing football and your day job, and, you know, making decisions each day based on that?
Yeah, it is. I guess you get used to it as well. Having played semi-pro since I was 20, you get used to the training Tuesday nights and Thursday nights, and that's almost my routine. I almost know that if, like, say for example, we have a Tuesday off, it throws me out, because I know that Monday I haven't got anything on Monday night, but then I know I've got Tuesday training, and after Tuesday training it's Wednesday morning, sort of thing. So it's like you that routine's ingrained in you. But I know, speaking to some lads find it hard going from full-time football to part-time football. Like, obviously they're used to training in the day, then training in the evening, and it can be quite a big shift, but I'm used to it. And it is a big balance as well. I've got a young family, so finding time to make sure I spend time with them, work and football, is a pretty tough balance. And yeah, it's not something I'll be able to do for too much longer, I don't think, moving forward. But obviously I really enjoy playing football, but it's just tough to find that balance between obviously work, football and family life, and then seeing friends as well, and having a social life.
You get to have a social life.
Yeah, not often.
Having started your career at Leicester City, do you think that's kind of given you a sort of different perspective perhaps on football compared to the lads who wouldn't have started at an academy like that?
Yes. Yeah. I guess so. I think it might be, it's probably easier to start at a professional club and then drop down versus having to work your way up. And having spent time in a full-time environment, obviously I saw the pressures of full-time football, first-team football pretty early. I'd say it was a good upbringing for me, to be fair, to be able to train day in, day out with some top players and learn off them. It's stood me in good stead. But I enjoyed my time at Leicester. But yeah, also full-time football, and it comes with its own pressures, playing football day in, day out, and that being the sole concentration. Sometimes it's nice playing part-time football because you do have a bit of time to be able to switch off and concentrate on your day job, and it's not fully all-consuming your life, whereas I think full-time football can be very much consume a lot of your life, and then it's almost take over your life. So sometimes I find it anyway, playing part-time, it's nice to have a bit of time to switch off and do your day job and then come to it, and it seems like more of an enjoyment piece rather than a job, if that makes sense. I think sometimes full-time football can become more of a job, and then some people don't enjoy it as much versus having an actual job and then getting to play football on the side and enjoy it a bit more, if that makes sense.
It's got an expiry date on it, hasn't it, as well, then, full-time football in the lower leagues. Obviously, you're not earning millions and millions like you are at the top ends of it, and then ultimately you've got to go and find something to do afterwards, I suppose, which brings its own pressures as well.
Exactly, yeah, and you're almost like living on a year-to-year basis. You'd have more job security in a normal job versus just a year-by-year contract, and you could be left out in the cold any summer, especially as you get older or an injury or anything like that. So, yeah, it brings with it its own pressures, and if you've got a mortgage to afford, or if you're the sole breadwinner, it can come with a lot of pressures. So yeah, to be fair, I can see some people, even like last year in the Conference North, where you think, oh, they're too good to be playing at this level. But I think some players drop out of full-time football because they know they can pick up a good wage part-time and then get a decent job or start to plan their career after football and get that in place while they're still playing part-time football, which makes sense, really.
What's your proudest achievement been in football, with all these titles that you've won, if you had to pick something?
My proudest achievement would have to be last year, winning the title as captain, I think. It's been the first club that I've been captain at, so being able to lift the trophy and lift the trophy with Jazz, because Jazz does a lot of it as well, leadership-wise in the change room and doing all the bits behind the scene at the club. So yeah, I'd say that last year lifting the trophy as captain would be my proudest achievement in football, I think. Yeah.
Quite surprised, Ben, that you say you weren't a skipper at a club before, because I don't know, just always
really.
Yeah, like
I never really saw myself that I'd ever potentially be a skipper, because I'm not necessarily that outspoken in the change room or off the pitch, but on the pitch, so I try to be a bit louder. But yeah, I never really saw myself as necessarily being a captain. It was sort of sprung upon me, I think, when I think Collard I might have stood in as skipper once. A few years ago, I think St Ives, it was sort of sprung up on me. I didn't really expect it. I didn't know what arm to wear the armband on or anything.
All the little things you've got used to.
Exactly, the little things you don't think about.
Yeah. What would you say about the kind of atmosphere around the club at the moment? Because when we spoke to Andy Peaks in our interview, he was like emphasising building, a really good camaraderie between everyone like that, and that certainly seems as fans like it's paying off.
Yeah, I think that's one of the main things the gaffer likes is building a good dressing room and team spirit. Everyone gets on in the dressing room, and it's good. It's a good laugh, to be fair. There's certain characters that are always making jokes, and usually it's at the expense of someone. But it keeps everyone entertained, and that is a big part of it, because obviously we don't get to spend the amount of time that other teams will spend with each other in this league, being part-time. So, but yeah, it's a really good group. Definitely one of the best changing rooms that I've been involved in, and obviously that helps, and I think it's sort of spread a bit around the club as well. Obviously, to be fair, I've only ever been here when we've been doing well, so I can't speak any otherwise, but it seems as though, the fans are enjoying it, and obviously the attendance have got better over the last few years as well, which obviously helps. So long may it continue.
What's your role within the change room and within the club then as captain? What do you see as your primary responsibility?
So there's lots of roles which a captain usually has to do, but Jazz does do a lot of them, to be fair to him, like fines. So I just delegate well, to be fair. Jazz does the fines, and then we appointed Callum Cockerill-Mollett as social sec to organise all the nights out and stuff. And then So actually, my role just obviously me and Jazz liaise with the gaffer a bit on different bits. But yeah, my main role is just on the pitch really, and I think it's easier speaking to refs now as a centre mid versus having Jazz as a captain, where it's very difficult for him to actually speak to the ref, where I'm usually around the ref the whole game so I can speak to him, try and get him on side a bit, etc. Whereas if you haven't got, if say for example Jazz is captain, it's very difficult for him to be able to speak to the ref, etc. and stuff like that. So yeah, my main responsibilities are actually on the pitch, and then I would say I've probably delegated them quite well off the pitch.
Very smart. Be quite the move from Jazz as well if he's charging out his goal every 5 minutes to chat to the ref.
It could end up with a few bookings.
Yeah. Where do you see Tamworth sort of going in the future? Because it is looking, very good at the moment. I think the mood around the club, from the outside at least, is as good as me and Brett have known it for some years as well. Like what do you see as kind of the next step, almost, or what the future holds?
I'd probably say short term this season obviously would be to stay up. I'd say see that as a success, and then next year just to consolidate our place in the National League. I think for the size of our club, if we can become a good solid National League team, that'd be great. And then see where that takes us. And obviously we've got a big game coming up in the FA Cup. If we could spring another shock, that could get us to the third round, which would be amazing. But yeah, first and foremost, I think priority in the short term would be to stay in the National League, and then hopefully consolidate that position moving forward.
Is there a team, if Tamworth do reach the third round, is there like a dream tie for you personally?
I'd say any of like any top 6 Prem team, or Forest probably.
Is that your team you support?
I'm from Nottingham. I don't actually support a football team, but my mum's side of the family support Forest. A lot of my friends support Forest and got season tickets at Forest. So yeah, that or obviously one of the big top 6 Prem teams would be my dream tie, I think. So yeah, how about you guys?
Arsenal away would be great if we were to get through, just because with revenue in it. Maybe like
Aston Villa or Wolves, just for the local aspect as well. But I think, I don't know. It's hard not to get ahead of yourself.
It is, isn't it? It is, isn't it? But yeah, obviously, there's still underdogs going in. We still need to probably cause a big shot. Well, a big shot, if not bigger, because we're not at home for Burton. But you never know, do you?
Exactly. Got to have a dream. Is there anything, Ben, we haven't asked you that you wanted to say, or anything you just wanted to say before we wrap up?
I don't think so, no. It was good to speak to you guys.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot for coming on, Ben.
We really appreciate it.
Hope it hasn't been too boring for anyone listening.
It's been fantastic.
Yeah, it's been brilliant. Thank you so much.
No worries.
Thanks for watching. If you enjoy this video, please give it a like and subscribe to our YouTube channel.